this song. This song is everything. So clean. What's up, guys? I've purposely got the most outrageous wild haircut because that's about the wildest thing that's happened to me over the last 7 weeks. I've been in lockdown here in beautiful Far North Queensland. Hope you guys have been doing well. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I am going to be teaching you guys 5 must-know tips for better GoPro videos. So the video that you just saw, believe it or not, was shot on the GoPro Hero 8. I know some of the content that I look at when I review this stuff I've captured on this camera blows me away. Today we're going to be using a very simple application on our desktop. I got this message recently. I get this message a lot when I ask you guys what kind of content you want, and it says how to edit GoPro content on mobile devices and then export to social media. From Ian. This is a very frequently asked question. Now, today, this whole thing can be done on your mobile because I'm using Adobe Premiere Rush, but I am editing it on my desktop. And the reason why I'm editing on my desktop is because, first and foremost, I just think I would learn to edit on your desktop first. It's just a lot easier to get into the flow of editing, more so than using your mobile device. But that's not to say this cannot be done. This 100% can be transferred onto mobile. So let's get stuck into it. If you are interested in using Adobe Premiere Pro or Adobe Premiere Rush, because that's what I'm going to be editing in today, you can get a free trial. So if you want to test it out, you want to play along at home, you can do that. I'll put a top link in the description is to grab yourselves a copy of Adobe Premiere Rush. Now, with the free trial, you only get 3 exports. You can only export 3 projects. You get, I think, 2 gigabytes of storage on Adobe Creative Cloud. And that's about all you get. If you want to then subscribe singular just to Adobe Premiere Rush, you can do that. And I think for Aussies, it's about $15 a month. At the very, very top of this list, one thing which I think can seamlessly and easily better your GoPro edits is understanding speed. All right, so jumping into Adobe Premiere Rush, you'll notice on my screen right now, you can see my beautiful clip of the Sahara Desert. Much like my hair, it's very wild, but this clip doesn't quite fill the frame. Why is that? That's because the initial clip that I dragged into this project was 4K, which has set the workspace at 4K, I'm pretty sure. And this clip is filmed at 2.7K. Now, the reason why I filmed at 2.7K is because I wanted to get a buttery slow motion clip. So for those of you that have all those questions about, what frame rate to use, well, if you want super slow motion and you want to be able to slow clips down that look really nice, buttery, silky smooth, then you have to shoot them at the higher frame rate. That's why I'll choose to shoot in 120 frames a second with hypersmooth on my GoPro, and I'm capturing it in 120 frames. So, things to note. The first thing, on the right side of this panel, you can address the fact that it doesn't quite fill the frame by very simply going down to maintain proportions here. It says the scale, and we can type in 143. 143 is like the exact number. I've just worked that out. If you don't want to do that, you can just drag the slider up and go, oh, well, there it is. It fits the frame. But 144 is like 1 pixel too much, so I'm making sure that I'm getting every piece of pixel or every part of the frame in the workspace. So there it is. I've maintained the proportions. I've quickly scaled it up. Now, the next thing we're going to look at on the right is the speed, because that's essentially what I'm teaching you here. Now, there's 2 ways that you can address this. The first is by using the speed range selector. Now, at the top here, I can select a little part of my clip. Like, let's say, oh, this cashmere scarf fluttering about around the sun, that's so pretty. I just want to slow that section down. So I can just use the range selector there. I've range selected this little section here, and I can change that speed from 100 to 50 or to 25, whatever speed I want it to be. And essentially what's going to happen is if I click on this ramp tool down here, when it goes from 100, which is the section which isn't blue, boom, into the 25 25% or quarter speed. Here, I can change the amount of ramp. So that's kind of cool. I can go, it's going from 100, slowly in. That defines speed ramping. That is essentially, you've created a ramp, it's gone from 100% into 25%. Now, my definition is probably just more like, I make speed jerks because I don't always use this ramp to make my edits. So I'll turn the ramp off. I will also select the entirety of the clip, so I'm changing the range, and I'm gonna go back to 100% here. So this is my clip. This is how I like to do it. Don't worry about the fact that my audio is black. We can talk about that later in this video. But if yours is green, don't worry about that. So let's say this is the section that I want to slow down, right? Just this bit here. What I like to do is use the cutting tool, cut, and then I'll go cool, and then I'll create another cut. So I essentially have created 3 clips. I've got 100%, 100%, but 3 clips. The middle clip is the one that I would just select and make that 25%. So the exact same thing's gonna happen. It's gonna go boom, from 100% into 25, and then back to 100%. Now, if you've shot in a high frame rate, I think I tend to prefer to use this model than the ramp because I like to cut to a beat. Now, so that moves on to the next step. Music Bed, I licensed it from Music Bed. All right, so tip number 2 is to select the best part of the song. Now, if I was to play this song for you guys, oh, it makes me so happy, this music. It makes me think so much about driving and this whole experience of being in Morocco. Anyway, you gotta listen to it. That's it. So as soon as that vocal comes in, that is the bit that you want to use. And I've got to be expressive about this because I think as beginner editors, or those of you that are new to creating, emotion with your work, is these little fine details make such a big difference. I could start this edit here. Do a TikTok to it. But it's just not where I want it to start. So before I even start putting my clips and using my speed ramping, I find the section of the track that is bellissimo. That is the part that I want to use. And for me, I was like, okay, it's cool. There's a low bit, another low bit, second bar. Boom, that bit there. Bo na na oh, na na. For Instagram, I think it's really valuable if you think about creating content that may potentially have your viewer or your audience watch over time and time again. It's kind of like the TikTok thing. I'm sure there is some kind of algorithmic benefit to having someone watch it multiple times. Anyway, I like to listen to this, to the music and naturally find, please stop playing, and naturally find a loop within the track. You can tell that it's building. Oh, na, na, oh, na, na, oh, na, na. Yeah, quick, cool, keeps going. And about here, okay, it changes. So I think it's about here, there. Right there. I'm gonna cut it right there and delete that bit. And this is my loop. This section here is my endless loop. The beautiful thing about Adobe Premiere Rush is this little section here. You'll notice at the bottom right of the playback screen, you'll see an icon which says loop playback. Here's the final few seconds of my clip. Oh, you'll notice that it has just gone straight back to the start and we're in again. Now, and it's quite seamless. There are some audio pops that I haven't quite addressed, but we can address them in this. But you'll notice that from this whole package, from the audio, from the visuals, it is a seamless, endless loop. And the simplest way to do that, what I've done with this edit here, is I've grabbed the exact same clip, which is, Anna with her at 100% with her cashmere scarf, not a, and Yeah, and so I've basically taken a part of this, which is where I've started this edit. If I go over here, which is at 100%, and let's zoom in here. So we're 100% here. We drop it down to 25% because I really just like that emotive feeling of just expressing this moment. Like, look at the sky. This is just incredible. Adding on from this loop playback feature is just one simple tip, which I have shared in another video, but it's cutting an audio sweeper or a whoosh sound effect in half to tie the end of your loop in with the start. Now, all I will do is I've got this, this whoosh sound effect here, downloaded from Epidemic Sound, link in the description if you want to go and use Epidemic Sound, free trial with them. And I've cut that in half. All I've done is I've put the build on this side and the riser, I guess, is at the end, and the build is over here on the left. You have to start it from the end, obviously, to hear the loop. Okay, it's still a bit crunchy. All right, so I'll just keep trimming until I've got that sound effect. I really do believe that it's not just the clips and the color that make your GoPro edits better, but it's adding in these extra layers of audio to build out your, the emotive side of your edit. So the other thing is using what seems to be video transitions over here on the right as dissolves or fades on audio. And you'll notice that I've done that down here on the clip right at the end there. I've got this, this here is the cross dissolve, because I want to top and tail my audio. I don't want these poppy sounds. The first thing I learned at audio school was this. It was my very first assignment. It was, your project is to make sure there are no pop sounds in your, in Ableton. So go through every single clip where you're mixing and make sure there is a cross transition or dissolve. Do that with your audio. Now, it's a very simple thing, but it 100% makes your GoPro videos sound better. And when they sound good, people are like, damn, this is a vibe, they're into it. There is one layer of visuals here, but I'm using the tempo and the pace of the vision to throw into the next. So you'll notice here that we're at 25% on this first clip. If I go into my speed, 25%, I then go into 100% and then cut to my next clip, which is at 50%. So I'm using the pace of the, of the motion and what's going on in my clips, the visuals, to flow into the next clip. So, and you notice it's just like I go a little bit faster here, going into 100%. I've also added a whoosh sound effect underneath it. So layering, which is tip number 4, layering your visuals with your audio, making sure that they, have a little bit more, just a little bit more seamless. Think about it. Think about using your ears to transition as much as your eyes. Coolest features on Adobe Premiere Rush is color and its ability to color grade. So if let's take this clip for example, and if I go over here to my color window, which is these three sort of, if I take color off, I hit none. All right, so this is what the clip looks like, just shot out of my GoPro, shot with GoPro color. Now, I think you would get some drastically better results if you were to use GoPro flat. I, however, wasn't thinking at the time that I wanted to do this, so I've just shot in GoPro color. Now, the way that I like to do this, or to color grade with Premiere Rush, is to start with a preset. Now, there's plenty of presets here that you can click on that come bundled with Premiere Rush to just initially start color editing. And when you're going through these sliders, be dramatic. And by being dramatic, going all the way to the end and then pulling back, you'll start to find the area and the sweet spot of the color that, that just is more harmonious with your clip. The best way to apply this color to the same clip which we've cut up is you just simply create a preset. So let's say I really like this. I'm gonna pull the shadows down a bit, highlights. Yeah, let's get those highlights down. We'll increase the contrast, and I might go through here and add a little vignette. Cool. That's a pretty poppin' clip. If I don't say so myself. Then at the top here, I'm gonna create a preset. Top right, those 3 dots, create the preset, call this, let's just call Poppin' Road Trip. Yeah, love it, save. You'll notice that I created this clip here, which is the 100%, and you'll see, oh, the colors are different. So all I have to do is go into my presets, and then down here in my presets, you'll see Poppin' Road Trips down there. Boom, now the colors are the same. I'm slowly becoming Marge Simpson, which I think is perfect. If you guys have enjoyed this video, do punch that thumbs up button. If you're new around here, well, just keep sharing the stoke. The channel is all about travel, creativity, tutorials, and tips. And if you're into that, feel free to subscribe. I'm gonna put a link in the description to Adobe Premiere Rush so you can download this software. And if you wanna test it out, you've got 3 free exports there. You can also do all of this stuff on your mobile. So for Ian asking, you can make this same content on your mobile. Pro tip is be really critical about the clips that you are selecting before you get stuck into your speed ramping and adding in your audio and your sweepers and stuff. That, however, is really hard to do on your mobile. So I'm encouraging you to probably do this on desktop and then transition your project to mobile, or start by finding the clips that you want on your vice versa, whatever, you get it. I've also launched a brand new website, and I'd love for you guys to check it out, see some of the projects that I've worked on. A lot of the videos are on this YouTube channel. But yeah, there's some other stuff, there's some blog posts in there, so I'll link that, and feel free to sign up to the mailing list if you want some more of these tips kind of just emailed out to you. That's also in there. Have liked the video, guys? Well, keep sharing the stoke, and I'll see you guys in the next upload. Yeah. Peace!